Hello everyone, please like and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss our stories.
Arrived early in the vast, shadowed forest. Morning crept in, under a sky weighed down by heavy grey clouds, the weak light barely straining through for a few brief hours before retreating. Everywhere the landscape was muffled and softened by a thick blanket of untouched snow, its surface unbroken save for the delicate imprints of small creatures braving the cold. There was a profound stillness to the world outside, a loneliness, perhaps, that pressed against the walls of the Ingalls' small, sturdy house. But within that house, the spirit of winter felt altogether different. Long before the dawn, Pa had risen with the first flickers of pale light, shrugging on his coat and boots, moving quietly about as not to wake the others too soon. He stoked the smouldering embers in the stone fireplace, urging it to life until flames danced behind the glass and golden warmth poured out, banishing the night's lingering chill. Ma, never far behind, soon began preparing breakfast in the kitchen, her steps thoughtful and unhurried. She set out the cornmeal mush and brought in butter, while coffee bubbled gently over the fire. The comforting scents drifted through the house, coaxing Laura from her bed. She wrapped herself tightly in her woolen shawl and joined Ma, smiling at the sight of the snowflakes swirling past the window, each one different, each one marking the passage of another winter's day. Outside, the woods were silent. The roads, once well-worn tracks, had vanished beneath drifts of icy white. With the world so transformed, venturing out became no easy feat. Yet, as always, there was work to be done and life to carry on. Laura could hear Pa pulling on his boots and buttoning his coat, preparing to brave the cold for his chores. She watched him through the window as he moved slowly across the yard, chopping firewood with careful, practiced strokes, each swing scattering tiny bursts of snow into the air. From time to time, he would disappear into the trees to check his animal traps, an old habit necessary for survival in these harsh months. Inside, Laura and Mary were assigned to tidy the house. Their tasks, dusting shelves, sweeping the floor, shaking out the rugs, became little rituals that made their modest home feel snug and inviting. There was a comfort in the routine, in knowing that each of them played a part in keeping the house orderly and pleasant through the long winter months. As morning edged into afternoon, Ma gathered Laura and Mary near the hearth. With hands skilled from years of practice, she taught them to sew new patches onto worn mittens and knit more scarves from leftover yarn. Sometimes they paused to practice reading, the flicker of firelight lending the pages a gentle glow. These lessons warmed the girls in ways the fire never could, filling the room with laughter and quiet pride as they succeeded in stitching straight lines or sounding out unfamiliar words. Winter days, though isolated, offered chances for simple joys and quiet togetherness. While the storm raged outside, the Ingalls family drew closer. Afternoons often stretched long, but time was passed in pleasant company. When chores were finished, Ma would sometimes share stories from her own childhood, tales of days when she was little, playing in the snow or listening to her own mother's voice by the stove's warm glow. Laura listened, wide-eyed, imagining distant winters and cozy kitchens, the connection to the past, as vibrant as the world outside was bleak. Most evenings, Pa returned home as dusk crept over the horizon, the glow of his lantern bobbing like a firefly among the trees. He stomped the snow from his boots in the entryway, cheeks pink from the cold, and greeted his family with a smile. Supper was a simple affair. Perhaps baked beans or stew, thick slices of homemade bread, and the soft golden treat of a preserved peach from last summer's stores. They gathered around the table, the modest spread made remarkable by the shared sense of gratitude and accomplishment that came from surviving another day. As night deepened and wind whistled around the eaves, the family would retire to the warmth of the fire. Pa dusted off his fiddle or guitar and played familiar, winding melodies that echoed through the little house. Sometimes the girls joined in with a song, their voices rising hopefully above the crackling fire. There was comfort in music, an assurance that even when the world lay frozen and silent outside, their hearts and voices remained alive and vibrant. When stories and songs drew to a close, they spoke softly about the day. Pa described the forest under its heavy coat of snow, the secret tracks of deer and rabbits winding among the trees. He recalled, too, the skills he'd learned from years of such winters: how to follow a trail, how to tell when a snowstorm was coming, how to find the surest path home. The girls listened intently, absorbing the wisdom of the woods and the quiet lesson of patience and perseverance. Eventually the hour grew late. Ma ushered everyone toward bed, tucking the girls beneath thick quilts, their heads filled with images of wild winter woods and stories of family long ago. Pa banked the fire, ensuring it would smolder through the night, a promise that warmth would linger despite the cold swirling beyond the walls. As silence settled in, broken only by the shifting embers and the distant call of an owl, Laura felt wrapped in safety and love. Though winter could be harsh and demanding, the little house stood firm, a beacon of warmth, hard work, and tender care. Here, together, no cold could reach them. The season might stretch long and lonely outside, but within these four walls, every day ended in peace, and the bonds of family shone brighter than any fire. Winter settles over the prairie with a silence deeper than the nearest forest, blanketing the world in darkness and snow. By mid-afternoon, the day's light fades from the sky, and the world outside the Ingalls' little house grows cold and pale. The stars prickle high above the frosted windows, shimmering quietly in an endless sky. Inside, however, another world takes shape, a world of warmth, belonging, and gentle hope that endures even the hardest seasons. As dusk brings the first bite of chill, Ma and Pa work together in their quiet rhythms. Ma stokes the fire, coaxing the kindling into life until the stove glows with cheery red warmth. The fire's light dances against the wooden walls, flickering softly, illuminating the room with an amber glow. She prepares the evening meal, simple hearty fare, cooked carefully over the fire. The comforting sense of fresh bread and stew lift spirits, creating a sense of well-being that gently chases away the howling wind outside. Pa returns from his day's work, snowflakes in his hair, and the steady confidence of someone who knows how to weather storms. He carries in the final armful of wood, stacking it neatly by the door for the long night ahead. With each gesture, Pa's love and care for his family are clear, his movements reassuring and calm. Supper is served, and the family sits close and together at the table. They share the stories about their day, Mary's quiet diligence over her lessons, Laura's playful questions about the world, and Carrie's delighted giggles at her sister's antics. Evenings are a tapestry woven from these little moments, as rich as any celebration. Gratitude, unspoken but strongly felt, rests over the family like another soft blanket. After the meal, the family gathers nearer to the stove, warming their hands and feet while the wind rattles the shutters and the snow piles against the door. Pa keeps spirits up with his gentle good humor. Sometimes he lifts his fiddle and begins to play, filling the little house with the pleasing notes of jigs and old folk tunes. Other nights, he tunes his guitar carefully, the strings humming softly. His music, bright and steady, travels through the small home, mingling with the crackling of the fire and the steady tick of the clock. The girls love these moments best. Laura, her chin cupped in her hands, listens eagerly to every note, her eyes shining with wonder. Mary quietly hums along, her voice blending with the music. Carrie, though youngest, joins in with bright, clear laughter when the tunes grow lively. These songs tell of distant places, of summer days, and the comfort of home. A reminder that the world is big, but their love is what makes it feel safe. When the last song fades, Ma reaches for the worn book she keeps nearby, its pages turned soft and thin from many years of use. She reads stories from days long past, telling of her childhood in another home, in another time. Her voice, calm and sweet, draws the girls into a world beyond the walls of their little house. For a while, they are whisked away on tales of adventure, of family, and of simple joys. Listening, Laura and Mary learn that hardship and happiness have always lived side by side, and that hope shines brightest when winters are deepest. These winter nights are not just for rest, but also for learning and growing. After stories, Ma sits beside the girls with her basket of embroidery. She shows Laura how to thread a needle, how to draw the hoop taut, and how to move the needle in and out with careful stitches. She guides Mary's hands in neat, regular lines, encouraging her patience and attention to detail. As they sew, Ma offers gentle advice, reminding them that even small tasks matter, that careful hands make strong homes, and that what they learn now will help them one day care for homes of their own. Chores, too, become lessons. The girls help sweep the floors and set the table, giggling as they learn the rhythms of home. With every task, Ma reminds them of the importance of kindness and responsibility, teaching them not only how to care for their house, but how to care for one another. These shared routines become threads that bind the family closer, reminding the girls that love is found in daily acts of service and care. Pa, when the sewing is set aside, tells them stories of his own boyhood. He recounts journeys through dense woods, close encounters with wolves and bears, and the long, hard winters he survived as a young man. In his tales, Pa's strength is clear, but so too are his values: respect for nature, perseverance in hard times, and gratitude for small blessings. Each story is a lesson in courage and humility, and the girls listen, wide-eyed, storing the wisdom for the days when they, too, will face difficulties. As the wind hums softly at the windows and the fire sinks lower, Ma tucks Carrie into her bed, smoothing her hair and humming a gentle lullaby. Mary and Laura settle into their quilts nearby, whispering their good nights before sleep overcomes them. The room grows still. The only sounds, the faint crackle of dying embers and the breathing of the little ones. Yet for Pa and Ma, the night stretches on a little longer. They sit together in the half-light, hands folded, voices low and thoughtful. They share quiet memories of where they have come from, of the days before children, of the risks and decision that have shaped their family's life on the prairie. They speak of what is yet to come, the work of spring, the hopes for another year, and the dreams they hold for their daughters' futures. In the heart of winter, when the world outside seemed frozen and still, the Ingalls family's home pulses with a warmth born of love and perseverance. The long winter nights that might break the spirit instead foster creativity, imagination, and resilience. Each lesson, every story, even the simplest song, becomes a stone in the foundation of who the girls are becoming. Strong, loving, and hopeful. Long after the girls are grown, they will remember these nights. They will remember the low, warm light, the music, the chasseurs, the gentle guidance, and the sure knowledge that no matter how cold or lonely the world may seem, love can always make a home. And through each winter, the family endures, not just with patience, but with joy, skill, and an ever-deepening bond that, like the fire in their little house, burns quietly and unfailingly, no matter how long the winter night. Winter in the woods pressed in with a silent relentlessness, as if nature itself wished to remind the Ingalls family how little control any person truly has over the world outside. The trees stood cloaked in a white hush, their boughs heavy with thick snow, and the sky above was a low, relentless grey. In their small cabin built sturdily among the trees, the Ingalls family faced each day with a quiet determination, never certain what new difficulty the season might bring, and ever aware that even the best-laid plans could be waylaid by deep snow, unexpected wind, or the scarcity of food. Yet through all trials, they would gather their courage and press on, united by the bond that held them fast together. Family. On this particular morning, the snow had begun even before dawn, drifting softly at first, and then thickening until the world outside seemed to vanish, replaced by the swirling curtain of white and the howl of the winter wind. Pa, always the first to rise, dressed in thick boots and his old wool coat, carved open the cabin's door with careful effort and stepped out into the wilderness. He usually checked the traps he had set along a well-marked trail, a lifeline through the winter months. But that trail was gone now, buried beneath a fresh fall of snow that covered every sign of his careful work. Each footstep was a struggle, every marker erased by nature's hand. He took a deep breath, his face braced against the cold, and retraced his way home. The weight of worry pressed on him. Food would be scarcer than ever if the traps yielded nothing. Still, Pa was a man made strong by hope. Stepping inside, cheeks red with chill, he shook the snow from his shoulders and set about stoking the fire higher. He offered a smile to Ma and a reassuring, "We'll manage, we always do." Each word a quiet anchor for his family. Ma didn't let any anxiety slip into her hands as she worked. No matter the day's troubles, she found dignity and joy in her daily chores, starting with a simple but warm breakfast, made from the remaining stores, bread baked the day before, a bit of preserved fruit, and tea steeped from dried leaves. In moments of worry, Ma would simply remind herself and the girls, "As long as we have each other, there's warmth enough for any winter." Her steady hands kneaded dough for the next day, her gentle voice rising over the low song of the fire. Every movement seemed to draw confidence from thin air, transforming meager rations into a meal that felt abundant for the small comforts it brought. Laura and Mary, bundled in their woolen dresses and hand-knitted stockings, assisted Ma as best they could. With the snow piled high outside and wood for the fire precious and hard-won, every bit of warmth was guarded. The girls swept the floor, chased away the cold that crept through the chinks in the log walls, and tidied their small beds. Their chores, usually a distraction from the long hours, had become harder, weighed down by a lack of fresh supplies and the gnawing hunger that sometimes crept in, no matter how bravely everyone pretended otherwise. Yet they worked diligently, sharing nervous smiles and whispering encouragement to each other with every task completed. Outside, the frozen world was both beautiful and forbidding. Through the tiny window, the family could see only flashes of white, the wind carving curious patterns in the drifts. The silence was absolute, punctuated only by the sound of snow sliding from the cabin roof or the branches outside creaking under their icy loads. It was easy in these moments to forget the joys of spring and the promise of new green, but within the family's heart grew a stubborn faith that they could outlast any season, even a winter such as this. Night seemed to fall early each day. Twilight blurred quickly into darkness as Ma gathered everyone around the small table for supper. The meal was humble: potatoes mashed with a little salt, bits of smoked meat from the careful stores, a sprinkling of beans. There was little variety left in their pantry, but Pa and Ma took care that the table was never without a scrap of good cheer. Pa, with a twinkle in his eye, turned the conversation to happier times, recounting tales of his own childhood, of summers when crops were good and laughter came easy. Ma's voice joined his in song, steady and warm, filling the little house with a sense of peace that seemed to push the winter storm far, far away. After supper, the glow of the oil lamp cast soft golden light across the room. Laura and Mary sat by the fire with their little sister, bundled in blankets. They listened to Pa's stories, sometimes sad, sometimes silly, always teaching them something about patience, courage, and endurance. Even in the most challenging times, there was joy to be found in their togetherness, in sharing a memory, a story, or a song. They were not immune to fear or worry, but each night the family found time to smile, to laugh, and to remind each other quietly that the roots of their love ran deeper than any storm. Outside, the storm raged on, the wind rattling the shutters and the snow climbing ever higher against the walls. But inside, the warmth held. The little house hummed with silent hope. Each member of the Ingalls family leaned on the others, drawing strength from simple companionship. They knew that surviving winter was not just a matter of food or fire, but of spirit and unity, a lesson renewed with every challenge overcome and every hardship endured together. As Laura drifted off to sleep, in the gentle circle of her family, she listened to the last of the wind's lonely song. The memories of a hard day faded as she was wrapped in the security of love and the knowledge that no matter how long the winter or how difficult the trial, spring would come again, and so would new hope. For now the warmth of family was shield enough against any storm, a quiet promise that tomorrow, together, they would face whatever came next.